We're
Back at it again
so
with that
soon to
GX
talk
Season
about
2.
GX Season 2. I think overall I like Season
Almost
2
a
more.
rhyme.
It has the same pitfalls as Season 1
Yep.
and some of its own unique issues, but I like the
But there's an
Society of
actual
Light
plot.
far more as the main antagonists of this season than I did the Shadow Riders of the last one. Even if some of the lesser important villains of this season are just as irrelevant as the ones from the first season,
Is it wrong
I
they
think
kind of
that
like
their
some of the filler
gimmicks and
characters?
especially the English voices they were given make them far more entertaining.
Yeah.
Even if it is in an ironic sense.
Italian gangster.
Hey, have you wasted all of your money on Yu-Gi-Oh cards so you can't enjoy video games anymore? Well, then I got just the game for
No.
you. Raid Shadow
God
Legends.
fucking
It's a free
no.
card.
Skipping ahead manually. I am keeping this in the video just so you see what I have to go through. Okay, 138. 3, 2, 1.
Player, you'll be awarded 50,000 silver.
I
and a free
don't
champion.
care.
What was I talking about? Alright, GX. So Season 2 opens up as everybody's second year at the Academy, and you might notice some new faces. Like my least favorite new addition, Bonaparte. He's basically taken the role that Crowler had in the last season where he wanted to destroy these.
Why we need a new character for Crowler to do it?
One of the most
I don't
insufferable
know.
characters I've ever seen. I fucking hate this character. I really don't understand his inclusion and what
Because
he actually
Crowler had
adds
to have
the
an arc?
season, other than forced conflict in filler
Or they just really
episodes
wanted a guy
where
with a
the
French
main plot isn't
accent.
happening. His inclusion is especially weird because in the early episodes of this season, Crowler seems to have reverted back to the character he was at the start of Season 1, where he still hated all of
So
these
why did he need a
Reds and
henchman?
Jaded, which kind of undermined his arc at the end of Season 1 after he got turned into a puppet by Camula, but then that gets thrown to the wayside again because
Oh,
that
that's right, we
becomes
gave him an
the
arc.
annoying Crowler fill-in, and then Crowler stands up for them, even if occasionally he has the throw-in line of, oh, it's because I want to destroy the Red
Naturally.
Dorm. They also have a bunch of scenes together where they're talking about how the school is in the toilet, but other than having these continuous scenes which feel like they're just there to fill time, we never really see anything
Yeah.
that makes it
Hey, it's an
feel like
wrestling
this is an
event
actual
nowadays.
issue. Yeah, the Red Dorm shit,
but
and
then
what
again,
their
even
bed
before
can barely be
COVID.
considered food, but that's how it's always been, even when it was still considered a prestigious
Yeah.
school back in the first
Yeah.
season. Slifer Red was always used as the butt end of a
I
joke.
never got why
This
it's
season
called
has a
red
few
when there's
voice
so
changes,
many
Let's go
yellows.
over those first at the beginning and just get them out of the way.
Oh, the
The one
door.
episode
Maybe I
that
know
Chumley
there's
comes
red,
back
but
is a
still.
different voice actor, and I personally really do not like it. He tries to sound like the original Chumley, but just
It's
sounds
close enough
really
for me.
off.
It's close enough for me, and it's one episode.
Jaden, give me some love.
Well,
That's
John
me.
McCain now has an Elvis Presley impression.
Oh, Java token.
I actually prefer the Elvis impersonation.
Thank you very much.
Halfway
Personally.
through the season, Chaz's voice actor changed, and unlike Chumley's, his sounds closer to the original, but it always sounds like he has a cold
It's a
and a
bit
sore
off.
throat.
Face it, kid. Whether we're wearing blue, yellow, red, or polka dots, you'll always be the same loser, and I'll always be the Chaz. Chaz it up! Chaz it up! Chaz it up! The Chaz has spoken. Hey, back off! Stop spreading lies. She's my soulmate, and I'd never do
Yeah,
that
it
to
always
her.
sounds just a
Since
bit
Chumley's
off.
working in Pegasus'
Good enough,
sex
but
dungeon,
still.
we need someone to fill the roster. So now meet the new character, Tyranno Hassleberry, who has dino DNA
Literally,
due
sort
to his
of.
leg breaking, and they replaced his femur with a dino
As you
fossil.
do.
So when he gets angry, occasionally he gets these Naruto nine-tail
I
fox
don't think that's
eyes,
even
and
how
he starts
DNA
growling like a dino.
works.
Overall, I think he's a pretty good addition to the cast.
But he's a fun
Though
character.
In the earlier episodes, I found him kind of annoying with how he constantly argues with Cyrus over who's Jaden's best friend, and this lasts for a while. But once
Yeah,
that's
they-
settled, he has
they
some
get
decent
that out of the way
entertaining
pretty
duels, and
fucking
actually
early.
plays a large role in the end of the season, unlike 90% of the
Yeah.
cast. I really like the start of
Dinosaurs
the
in
season with Chaz's duel
space.
against the
Fuck
snobby
yeah.
obelisk Blue Kid, and Cyrus's duel against the obelisk Blue
The
Girl, where he
not
gets to prove himself
Weevil
and is promoted
Underwood.
to Raw Yellow. I think it's pretty apparent what I perceive as a good duel, but to reiterate it, the best duels are always the ones where there is an emotional stake for a character, and the duel is used as a vehicle for their
Yes.
growth. And I think there are quite a few duels in this season that are used as a good backdrop for character.
Seems
growth, but
like
at
the
same
only-
time,
the
there's
main
equally
one.
just as many pointless.
Oh,
and
the
annoying
fucking
duels
Grim
that you can
Reaper
honestly
one. I
skip
forgot about
over,
him.
And nothing of value is lost. That is by far
God.
the biggest issue with the format of
Yes.
this season. For the first half of the first season, it was pretty much a slice of life anime with dueling.
Yeah.
Most of it was wacky hijinks, and occasionally there was some supernatural stuff.
For good
but
measure.
overall, there really wasn't an overarching story. so the quality of duels varied from episode to episode. And then they introduced the main villains, the Shadow Riders.
They suddenly realized, oh shit, we need a plot.
Had terrible motivations and were completely uninteresting as characters. This season, on the other hand, has an interesting villain with an interesting setup, but then occasionally there are episodes that completely sideline the main story to have stupid and inconsequential bullshit happen. Why do you think this video is way shorter than the last one? It's because half of these episodes in this season do not matter. Nothing happens in them. I can still remember
that guy
watching
was
this
from
season
the third
week to
season
week
with the
as a
GX
kid.
tournament.
And
Oh wait, no, the GX
absolutely
tournament
hating
happens
some of
during
these
the Sartorius
episodes.
stuff.
It just felt like an honest waste of
I
time
get
to
the
reach 52
timing
episodes.
confused, you know?
For example, when Jaden is lost in the woods trying to find his way back to Duel
Yeah,
Academy,
he finds
it takes him
Wheeler.
5 episodes to do this. One of those episodes is a complete recap of the first season. Then Aster gets introduced as a character and he duels Zane with his elemental
That one's a
heroes,
good
which are
episode.
supposed to be evil versions, so all of them have more muted colors. So instead
I
of
like how
blue
in this
highlights and
episode-
Sparkman, they're now
I like
black.
how
For
Jaden's
Citrix,
like-
it's more like a Smurf now because her skin is way more
I like how
blue.
Jaden's
Then he
like,
has the
I could
other
make
elemental
Phoenix
hero forms like
Enforcer?
Phoenix
He never
Enforcer.
does.
During Aster's
He could,
movie,
even
he
he's like, I
possibly
could
one of
have,
the
but he never
funniest
does.
lines in the entire series.
I won't tell you his name, but it rhymes with Schmaden Schmooky.
I wonder who could be.
Hear me, Schmaden? You know who you are, you card thief.
This is also part of one of the more
I know it's one of those
dub
things where it's like
changes
he
from
doesn't
this
have the
season,
fusion
where
card
originally
with.
Aster says that
They
there
could
was
just
another
add to the
duelist
extra
who
deck at
happened
any
to
moment.
make
Let's be
elemental
real
heroes,
here.
even though he did
What
it
is this?
first,
The extra
and
deck is
that
like
he heard
50
that this player
gajillion
was
cards
on
for every main
par with
character.
Zane. So to prove that he was the better hero player, he was going to beat Zane, and then to quell any doubts, he then challenged Jaden and said his full name on TV instead of Schmaden Schmooky. Not to mention the fact the idea of copying someone's deck is completely stupid when they're fucking cards that everybody has access to. But the anime runs by the logic of only one person can have this type of deck ever, or they're copying them. Which, if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, this is just a thinly veiled excuse so they can show off more unique cards because this is a weekly 22-minute ad to get kids to buy cardboard. One of the funniest censors this season is Aster's
Kidnapped.
dad, because originally in the Japanese version he dies, but in this he's now just missing. So now there's a comically body-shaped space on the floor where he was supposed to be. Aster also takes Destiny hero Dreadmaster out of his dead father's hand, but in the English version it just looks comically terrible as he picks it up off the floor. Not to mention that this change also softens his motivation, which is a running theme with the censorship and GX because there are a lot of character deaths that they have to shy away from and try to work around. After his loss to Aster,
I think this
Zane
is
becomes
when
unable
4
to
Kids'
win and
whole
becomes a
kidnapping
complete
thing
has-been
becomes
and
the
washed up,
worst.
to the point where he then enters the underground dueling circuit and develops a BDSM fetish. He becomes a complete edgelord, and then when Cyrus confronts him later on in the season, he starts talking about how much he gets off to the electricity and it makes him feel alive while he's dueling.
When I started dueling in the underground, I felt the same way. But then, I discovered the pleasure of pain.
At this point, they also bring back the running gag about how Chaz loves Alexis.
And it was never funny in the first place, so.
This season introduces the Neo-Spacians, which are some of the worst monsters to grace the game. Yeah, some of them like Grand Mole and even Aqua Dolphin recently have had some applications.
Grand Mole was always good
Their
for a long
fusion
time.
monsters are all terrible
Yeah,
because they have
they do
the
look
clause
cool,
of
though,
returning
that's
to the
true.
extra deck if Neo
Say true about
is
the
not
Neo's
approved,
cards, they
which
do
of
look
course
cool.
is an ability that Jaden doesn't know right away because just like every real-life Yu-Gi-Oh player, they don't read their cards.
No one
Also
reads
where
their cards in
Yu-Gi-Oh! as a
their
series
anime.
starts to get obnoxious with cards magically appearing into people's decks because duels where Jaden is losing in this season, his deck will glow or his hand will glow, and then suddenly he has a new Neo-Spacian that comes from outer space right into his hand so he can use, and then he wins.
I like
the
how
duel.
I like
also
how
replaces Flame Wingman as Jaden's
I like
ace
how Dark
monster,
Panther
which
in dub
I
was
personally
just
don't
every
because I think Flame
generic
Wingman
black
is way
guy
cooler,
ever. It's
but you
like,
gotta have
yo,
your
dog, I'm
2500
gonna be
beat
like
stick,
gentle
or else
like
it can't
you,
be the
bro.
main
It's like,
character's
what the
ace
fuck?
monster. I can't believe they nerfed Aqua Dolphin's ass in the dub. Sadly, this wouldn't be the first Konami-owned IP to have their ass nerfed. At least the Neo-Spacians have a hilarious origin story. Back when Jaden was an elementary
Yeah,
student,
this
he
was
was
just
hosting a
fucking
contest
dumb,
for
even
people
for
to create their
Yu-Gi-Oh
own
standards.
cards, and Kaiba would make them into real cards, put them on a
And
satellite,
shoot 'em into
shoot them out
fucking
into
space.
because, as he says,
If there is intelligent life out there, then let's teach them how to do it.
There's the
I
alien
really wish they made
archetype,
the food
Kaiba.
cards that the Yellow Dorm Chef used real. Can you imagine going to a YCS and you're like, yeah, I'm using a food deck and my win con is Hungry Burger? Who wouldn't want to own a Ghost Rare Potato Man? One thing that always bothered me that I thought was kind of weird is on the back of these magazines
Look at
that
the Sacred
Jaden's looking at,
Beasts.
you can see the Sacred Beasts. Weren't they supposed to be these top secret world-ending
Oops.
monsters that were locked away? How is there renders of them
Easter
on a
egg
magazine?
that wasn't
Once
thought
the school
through.
takes their field trip to Domino City, it's kind of a mixed
Yeah.
bag. On one
This is
hand,
supposed
it's
to be a
clever
movie,
way
of
to
course.
recap the events of Duel Monsters, but at the end of the day,
If you
it's
want to know
still
more
a
of that,
recap.
look into the
In
Yu-Gi-Oh!
dub, they
Everything
made
episode of
Solomon
it.
Moto a
The
senile old
canceled
man who
Yu-Gi-Oh!
can
GX
barely
movie.
hear and is mostly just there for unfunny
Yep.
jokes.
All right, are we going in that virtual world or not?
Tell me you're kidding.
I don't want pudding. That stuff wreaks havoc on my
Oh,
gallbladder.
Jesus.
Cyrus and Hassleberry's duel against the two Monarch players is actually pretty cool. It draws
really
reference to the
weird,
original tag
too.
duel with Kaiba and Yugi. Then to further draw allusion and reference things from the original series, they go into the digital world again and have to duel Sartorius' sister. The only way they could have referenced Duel Monsters harder is if they had the five-headed dragon show up.
Well, they don't
While I
do
like
that.
the Society of Light as the main villains of this season, the only issue with them is since they're focused around mind control and being a cult, characters who become assimilated into their group early get hardly any screen time where they're not brainwashed. And then other characters that get brainwashed later don't get to do anything beforehand. Like Bastion, who doesn't actually have a
forgot he
fully
dyed
good
his
duel
hair
on
white.
screen the entire season before he gets assimilated. We see a already in progress duel against Jaden in episode 57, where Jaden then beats him in a single turn right before they go to watch Zane versus Aster. Then it's another 25 episodes before his duel versus Chaz, where he then becomes a part of
GX
the
never
Society of
truly
Light. Then
cared
2
about
episodes later, we
Bastion.
see another already in progress duel where he wins in a single turn against a literal Who character. Bastion is the TN of GX. The story makes complete sense why Bastion would want to lose and join the dorm in order to gain validation from
But then he never gets that
Sartorius.
either.
I wish it was written so he could see himself as saving the day and getting to be the hero instead of Jaden, to prove his skills and only to fail by losing to Chaz. I would have much rather him go down unable to win as a hero than be swayed by the cult only for him to become a gag with him running across the campus naked. If he actually became any sort of threat after joining the society, I don't think I would have had any issue with him making himself lose after having the victory right in his grasp. You see the end of this episode and it's foreboding and you're like, oh shit, now they have some real firepower on the Society of Light besides just Chaz and Alexis. But then Bastion
Doesn't do
does
anything,
nothing.
yeah.
He gains no validation. He's just a gag that's used a few times throughout the rest of the season. There's another weird continuity error after Bastion finishes his duel. The people leaving the dorm to go join the society say that Bastion's now the last Raw Yellow.
Wait,
Like you're
what?
all that's left now.
Look at the bright side. You have the place to yourself.
But the episode after this, you can see tons of Raw Yellows running around during the Gen
Oops.
X tournament. So where did these guys come from? The one thing that makes these inconsequential duels
hi, Ra.
semi-watchable is the voices that are given to some of these characters.
Oh
in the
god,
dub.
yes.
That's right, Booby-Ed. My
Worst
says I'm
voice
wrong.
in the history
At this
of the
point, I was
dub.
really contemplating my life choices that led me to this. And then Lorenzo's
Zane
voice
obliterates
was the
him.
final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, so how do you like this?
Oh come on, this is so hilariously bad.
Shuffle these boys real good.
This is definitely the most Konami's done with Gradius in the last 15
No,
years. Now that
both
Gen
the
X tournament has
archetype
started,
and the
this is
video
where I
game
think
franchise.
The season begins to dip in quality because there are the duels that are just completely inconsequential, like I mentioned earlier, like Jaden's duel against the Kabuki
Yeah, that
stage
one's just
actor, the
pointless.
game show guy that's trying to win Alexis.
I kinda like that
Cyrus
one.
is a duel against Zane to
In a
try to
so
bring
bad
him
it's
back to
good
his
kinda
senses,
way.
But Zane just goes off about how much tasing his balls gets him
Oh,
off for
God.
the entire duel. It's kind of weird when you think about it, but Banner's Soul spends 90% of the season bored by the cat
Yep.
arrow, and only occasionally comes out to give Jaden some words of wisdom, only to then fly right back into its stomach. One of the hilarious edits that is added to the dub is the tear that rolls down Ra's face in the episode where Jaden duels the fake Ra stolen by Pegasus' employee. Couldn't you consider it nepotism that after Chumley starts working for Pegasus, he makes a card that directly benefits Jaden's deck and Jaden's deck only?
Yeah, how convenient.
The best duel of this season is the Chaz versus
Is
Jaden duel,
it,
where
is
Jaden's
it,
trying to
they
break
just had
Chaz free
something
of
like, yeah, we
Sartorius'
couldn't tell that
control,
Raw
while
didn't
Chaz
like
going
the
on a
position he was
Shakashori
in.
vision
We need the
quest in his
tear
mind.
duct too because kids are stupid.
Life. Are we just fleshy blips in some meaningless stew of cosmic oblivion? Or is it vice versa?
I love how this episode characterizes Chaz normally as an utter slob, with the gang telling him how he normally acts, to contrast how he's acting now, to make him realize that he's being mind controlled, where once he breaks free of the mind control, he gives his best one-liner in the series.
Like I always say, If it can't hide the dirt, then I don't want it over my shirt. Actually, I just...
Yeah.
I also thoroughly enjoy that after he breaks free of his mind control, he gets to do things.
And
in
he
the
is
season,
like,
and
give
ends
me
up
back
winning
my
the
tech,
Gen X
Jade. You
tournament,
stole
which makes
it.
up for
What?
how they did him dirty at the end of the last season and how they made him completely
500
insufferable
life
for most of this
points.
one. Though his final duel with Blair to win the tournament creates a continuity error because the dub made Blair younger. in the
Oh,
first
I
season,
love
saying
this
that she was
one.
a second grader and only 7. Now she's supposedly graduated elementary school, as stated
And
by
got into
Alexis,
high
though this is only
school,
supposed to be
because
a year
fuck
after
you.
the first season, so she would only be a 3rd grader by the logic.
See,
of
she
the
was
dub.
in the
Aster
hyperbolic
faces
time
off against his
chamber,
mentor,
and
who turns out is the one who killed
wish
his
they had
father.
that
The guy
excuse, at least
changed
then I
his
would
name
believe
to
it.
The D, but the dub cuts out the best part of this. In the sub, they refer to Destiny Hero Plasma, which was the card that was stolen, as the Ultimate D. So the D is wielding the Ultimate D, as opposed to, you know, Little D or the
Yes,
Lord of D.
and Lady of
I'm
D.
90% sure this is supposed to be a Devilman reference. Then Pegasus shows up and explains the plot of the season to Chancellor Shepard. There is this big white hole somewhere out in space that exudes energy and is now living in the Destiny Hero Plasma card, which is what is controlling Sartorius. This energy of light is supposedly throwing off the balance of light and dark in the world. Ignoring the whole plot point from Duel Monsters where Tem erased the concept of evil and darkness from all space and time.
There will not be another. You have conquered the embodiment of pure darkness from which all evil is born.
Except millions of light years away in
I told you,
space.
don't think too hard about that one. This light energy is also the reason behind natural disasters and multiple wars throughout human history. Now that that's out of the way, we can talk about how Sartorius' plan is changed from the sub to the dub. In the dub, he takes the satellite from the prince that shows up in Duelist Academy, and then he beats him without even having a single turn, and he's going to use it to mind control the entire planet. But in the sub, what they're trying to do is use the satellite laser to destroy the planet. This leads to Dingleberry having an outer body experience
One
where he
destroys,
turns into
one
a
takes
T-Rex,
over.
then flies out into space with Glow Neos to fight the satellite, which then the ghost of Sartorius' sister that was trapped in a computer appears.
Only in Yu-Gi-Oh could this make sense.
My power won't last long. I uploaded myself.
Not now, Shara. Go back to Secret Rings.
I think the Machuria weed's kicking in. While this is happening,
Only in
Sartorius is
anime,
dueling
my
Jaden and
friends.
summons.
Yes.
Yeah, get your funny JoJo references in now, kids. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I absolutely hate
I think it's
how
called The
Sartorius duels in
World.
this season because he has these spinning cards, and depending on if it lands right side up or
I'm
upside
convinced
down,
that the only
because it's
reason
supposed
that
to be tarot
Arcana
cards,
Force
they
The
get different
World is
effects.
called The World
Obviously,
is so
this
they
is
can
an
get the
incredibly
voice over to
contrived way
go
to have him
The
always
World
win
though.
because he controls destiny, making duels incredibly boring to
Yep.
watch to the point where it just feels like a waste of time for him to explain, if it lands right side up I get this effect, and if it lands right side down I don't get it, because obviously unless he's dueling Jaden and it is a crucial moment where he needs to fail or else Jaden is going to lose, he's always going to get the effect. At this point, the best duel in the season has already happened, and even as a kid, the Sartorius duel always struggled to keep my attention, and I think that's because it keeps jumping between the duel with Jaden and Sartorius and the duel with Chaz and Blair. So once Jaden inevitably wins, everybody just walks outside and it's kind of just over. Like, obviously it's going to end on a happy note, but I can't help but feel that this is somewhat lacking. I think this season's ending would have landed better if it followed the format of the first one. So the 4th and 3rd to last episodes are the final duel with Jaden versus the main villain, then the second 2 would be the duel with Blair versus
Just so we can end
Chaz,
that
similar
tournament
to
arc.
how season 1 ends with Jaden versus Zane. It would feel like more of a conclusive ending instead of switching back and forth between
And someone will
these
get the
two
ending that
ongoing
wasn't
duels, where you
Jaden,
can't
but
really get
then
engaged
Jaden
into
wouldn't-
either
but
one
then
of
the main
them,
pro
especially
tag
when the
wouldn't
second one
involve
doesn't
anything.
feel that high stakes wise. Overall, Season 2 is pretty solid. I definitely like the main villains far more, but I do think it kind of fumbles in the second half, especially with how many filler episodes
I like how we're
there
just
are.
ignoring
If
the
you just skip
Grim
those, it's
Reaper!
not nearly as bad. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say
Aquaman's
thank you for
butt.
watching as always. The Season 3 video probably isn't going to be anytime
I'm not
soon.
surprised.
I don't really want to make a whole big deal and be dramatic about it, but frankly, I'm pretty burnt out on making these videos. So for a while, I
happens.
just want to focus on videos and projects that I've just been chomping at the bits to finally
Hey,
work
man,
on.
what you
Hopefully
enjoy
with the
doing?
break from these videos, I'll be able to come back and make Season 3 the best one, and it'd be really funny and everyone loves
Hopefully.
it. If you like the channel, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to shout out all of my $5
And I'm going to pause it
patrons.
here and just say, yeah, Season 2 is a pretty good season of GX. It's not perfect, but no season of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general is perfect. I mean, it has its ups, it has its downs, but in the end, I like it. And, well, yeah, I didn't really have anything else to say. He pretty much summed it all up. It has a good point, it has its down points, but overall, it's enjoyable. At least in my opinion. And is. So, yeah, make it that what you will. See you.